who's next? Yeah, who's next? Who'll ride a greyhound all night long, stand in line for hours just to sing? Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. And that's the name of the game today. You're gonna need leverage. You're gonna need a little bit of power before you go into these relationships to, number one, even create them, and number two, make sure that something happens after you created them so you don't get put on a shelf. And as a matter of fact, that's why we named it the C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business, C.I.L.M.B. You see, it's an acronym by our incredible wordsmith, Mr. Brent Baxter. It's quite unbelievable. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Brent Baxter. He's an award-winning hit songwriter and my friend, with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And what I love about Brent is he helps songwriters turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound, and they help you find your audience. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating cash flow.
Cash money, baby! Cash money!
Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. And we all know why there's no S, because there's only one Johnny D.
What's up, brother?
Man, I got the little husky voice I feel like going on tonight, but I'm trying to make it through.
That's better for radio. It's better for podcasts.
Husky. There we go. Hi there. Husky. That's also how they describe me when I had a few pounds to lose when I was a healthy kid.
There was a moment in your life where you had a few pounds to lose, really?
He's husky. Oh, man.
Did that ever exist?
I've had a few of those moments.
Stop that. No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dude, you're rail thin, man.
Well, it's... My wife introduced me to a phrase, skinny fat.
Skinny fat? You're like the fattest skinny guy that she's ever known.
Like you're skinny, but you're still fat. So, no, man, back in Arkansas, I sat in the cubicle. I was, the cubicle jungle we've talked about.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Sipping on Mountain Dew, chained a headset, on the phone all day.
IV sugar, zero.
Oh,
exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of exercising, cube to couch.
Oh, my goodness.
Ballooned up.
When I was in the mortgage industry doing 12 hours in a cubicle, I had the same thing. It got out of control. I freaked. But anyway, we got a lot to cover today.
Yes.
More than skinny fat.
Speaking of a lot to cover, so did my pants back then.
I got to tell you, dude, I'm going to testify right now. Things were getting a little out of control for me recently, and I started running again, and I have lost. I come to find out, I went and saw my general doctor or whatever a couple months ago, and just a normal checkup or whatever, and then weighed myself and on the heavier side of my life, okay, and then I had that eye operation recently, so I can see out of one eye right now. By the way, people, as
and you saw yourself in the mirror, right after the shower, and
holy crap, I got to get to work, I've lost 15 pounds in the last 2 months, so I'm super stoked, and had a couple people comment that have known me from way back, like, you look like you lost weight just from my Facebook pictures, so that feels good.
Awesome. Well, good deal, buddy.
Hard work plus dedication equals success.
There we go.
Hard work plus running.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to get into Brent's going to be at the helm today. He's driving. He's flying the ship. Mm-hmm. What are we going to learn?
Well, nepotism. No, I'm just kidding. If you listen to the last episode, I'm not supposed to say it one more time.
Say that one more time.
So go back and listen to the last episode if you haven't. No, tonight we're going to talk about Cuttable songwriting, and I'm going to break down the recent Luke Bryan #1 hit, Fast, which was actually like the 6th #1 hit off his Kill the Lights album, which is insane, crazy these days. So I've heard some interviews. They're like, Luke, his songs just fly up and fly down. Like it's like we want them to slow down a little bit. It's a good problem, I guess, for the songwriters to have that he goes number one too fast.
Oh, I've heard a couple different stories like that in the Bobby Bones cast. And the Bobby cast.
That's what I've been hearing some of that stuff too. Yeah, so
Sure.
he's one of the guys, man, that suckers chug right off the charts. But yeah, so this was a number one. And the thing about fast that I find.
But wait, before we dig any deeper.
Yes.
I need to interrupt you because we need to talk about a review.
Oh, you can always interrupt me if it's 5 stars.
It's 5 stars. It is 5 stars. The review is from, it looks like Austin McBride. Essential for any DIY musician or songwriter. The C.L.I.M.B offers clear, up-to-date insight into the inner workings of the music business. Johnny and Brent's fun personalities. We have fun personalities. Johnny and Brent's fun personalities keep the podcast interesting, while their unparalleled industry knowledge helps listeners get to where they need to go. I guarantee you'll learn something new and useful with each episode. Thank you, Austin McBride.
Thank you, Austin McBride. That was quite a ride you just gave us there on that review. So cool. I appreciate it, man. That's awesome.
If you love this stuff, share this podcast, okay? Get it to more people. We keep breaking, every single month we break a record. Like every single month we had more downloads than we did the month before. It's awesome. I love that. And so leave a rating and review. That helps other people believe that we're for real and we're not just some kind of, trick pony or whatever, and trick pony or whatever they would call it.
Whatever they call it, yeah.
Pig in the poke. What do they say in the South?
Yeah.
They want to believe it's real and share it with your friends, man. If you're getting something out of it, then all you're going to do is look cool when you share it. Like they're going to be like, wow, This is awesome. So
I know. Get a little bit of that reciprocity. Have them go, man, thanks for turning me on to that podcast. You'd be like, yeah, I know. I know cool stuff.
That's right. I'm in crowd. Now you in crowd too.
There we go.
All right. So fast.
All right. So one thing I find really interesting about this song is that fast is kind of like a 90s country song at its heart. And we're quite a ways from the 90s. And I know, like, I cut my teeth on 90s country kind of stuff. And I know a lot of other writers out there did, the Garth heyday, the 90s boom, Alan Jackson, all these, huge time. And the market has shifted. It's not like the 90s anymore, the way that songs are written and getting cut. But at its heart, I think fast is like would fit right in with the 90s style stuff. But it's not written like a 90s song. It's written in a way that appeals to today's market. It's market current, Mm-hmm. So as a result, I think...
How so?
Oh, that's what we're going to get into. Oh, so as a result... I think it appeals to both sides of the bro country divide, because you have people that love like what Luke's doing and they love the new stuff and Florida Georgia Line and all that stuff. And it fits in with that. And they love fast. It blew up, went number one. But also, some of the kind of the older guard that like the more like 90s country and that style, there's a lot of stuff for them too. Because I've talked to writer buddies like, I love that song. My favorite Luke Bryan song or whatever, because there's a lot of that 90s kind of style in there for those people. So it really bridges that divide really well. And so I'm like, how do writers do that? How do they make fast so cuttable and so relatable to kind of this both sides of this divide? So I want to take a look at that. So here's there are a few things, and we'll start kind of broad strokes, and then we'll dive into some things. So first off, the song is more love than lusty, for one thing. The singer's a little more sensitive than cool, although he's by no means is he a sissy. He's still got his man card, and we'll talk about that too. But there's a little more depth there. It's like I said, it's more love than lust. Yeah, it's ultimately a love song, and also it's a life song. I talk about how life goes too fast. So it's cool. It's got this love element. It's got the life element to it. It's a little more depth than the normal bro thing, but it still works in that world. Another thing I think is cool about it is that it flirts with being a 3-act play. Now, a 3-act play was really common in 90s country. Songs like Don't Take the Girl, Where Have You Been, How Can I Help You Say Goodbye? Just so many country songs in the 90s had this 3-act play where it's, first verse is maybe some point in the past to the, one little vignette, second verse is another vignette, bridge is like some other vignette or a little wrap up. So you get like these 3 little acts to this play of this song. And so this riffs off the 3-act play. For example, the first verse talks about high school and wanting a fast car, and also about like wanting fast home team athletes. And so whereas a 90s style 3-act play would really kind of flesh that out and say, like, when I was 16, I wanted a fast car. I would see them driving by and I'd lust after them, or I was in the garage with Dad every weekend trying to get a car, rebuild this old Mustang or whatever, and really take you there. And the second verse would really take you into the rebellious love thing. It doesn't quite do that. So what it does, it touches on that stuff. So it talks about, fast. That's the kind of car you want when you're 16. Fast. That's the kind of boys you want on your hometown team. Fast. And so it evokes that kind of like high school days.
Mm-hmm. That's the imagery.
Without saying I was 16 and this is what I wanted and this is what the guys on my football team were like, what I wanted them to be like. But it still kind of evokes that. And it's not so much me. It has the universal you in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's fast. That's the kind of car you want when you're 16. That's the kind of boys you want on your hometown team. He's talking about himself because he's that guy, but also he's kind of just talking to the listener, kind of making a universal statement. So it kind of riffs off that 3-act play, but it's a little bit different. It's still kind of in the moment. He's telling it to you in the moment. He's not telling you a story from the past, but he's still kind of evoking some of that nostalgia.
There too, yeah, and that the next line being that you think you're going to catch your dreams, your big dreams fast. When you're that young, you don't really realize the work that's going to go into it. So that sort of puts you back in there too.
It puts you back in there without, let me tell you a story about a time when I was 16.
Right.
Doesn't get like autobiographical. It's more like kind of universal statements, but still kind of gets it to you. Still delivers that feeling. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the second verse moves to a different theme, which is the young rebel love. Then the bridge brings it to the present moment. So it's kind of a 3-act play, but it's not. They twist it up a little bit, which is pretty cool. And so just right off the beginning, it's like familiar but current, from 90s but current.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I want to take a look at fast through the lens of some of the elements I talk about in my workbook called Cuttable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm calling this Cuttable songwriting. Cuttable is a workbook, and I have workshops and stuff where we dive in and say, okay, how do you write songs that are cuttable, able to be cut? And so one of the big topics that I talk about in Cuttable is imagery. And so looking at fast through the imagery lens, it's not overloaded with the imagery. The writers do throw a few well-placed images into the lyric. Like, the first verse opens up with the fast car when you're 16. And I bet that made you flash back to a memory or to see some sort of Mustang or whatever, your Corvette or whatever your kind of dream fast car was.
Yep.
Lee, whatever it is, And so the hometown team line makes me picture my high school football days. Go Pioneers, So I think about that stuff.
Go Comets.
Go Comets.
Delvin Darien Comets. Shout out to my hometown. Delvin Darien Comets.
Delvin Darien.
Comets. We were celestial things. What do you call a comet? Somebody from Delvin Darien. Boom.
There we go.
All right.
We're the Batesville Pioneers. Go Pioneers.
There you go.
So, actually, for some reason, our school fight song was on Wisconsin. So there's a anyway, so I don't know why it was on Wisconsin. Fight song though.
Nobody asked any questions. They just kept on
whatever. Well, I mean, there's only so many, right? I guess.
We back down when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. I thought that was the Japanese. Shut up. He's on a roll.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So, got the images, hit the nostalgia button. Chorus gives you the hourglass sand. The second verse doesn't have too much in the way of imagery. I kind of see the parents, but that's about it. But the bridge is really where they dive in and paint the picture. They got the smiling girl in the dress looking out the window. So that's the most they kind of paint the picture in it. I think it's interesting the writers do the most work to put you like in the moment when they bring the song to the present moment, which is interesting. Like when they're looking back, it's not painted as vividly as in the bridge when they get to the present moment. Then they really bring it to life and really get specific on that, which is, I think, interesting. So, which obviously they did it on purpose because nothing's in this song by mistake. But I thought that was cool. So, good use of imagery, and when they're in the present moment, that's when they really paint it. Something else I talk about in Cuttable, because I like acronyms, is GAPS. So GAPS, which stands for growth, achievement, preaching or positioning, and songwriting. And so GAPS, those are the spaces in an artist's catalog where there's a gap, and that gap is an opportunity. It's this gap that you can hopefully fill with one of your songs. It's where there's a little chink in the armor. There's some space, hopefully, maybe a need there that you can fill. So I think Fast fills a gap for Luke Bryan on the growth part of it. So it allows Luke to talk about love and life from a little bit more mature perspective. So, sure, it's not like old grandpa wisdom. He's not sitting on the front porch in the rocking chair handing out, sipping on sweet tea and dipping and spitting sunflowers and telling, his kids about life, grandkids about life. He's not doing that. So he's not handing out the answers to the questions of life, but it's deeper than his usual like tailgates and tan lines type subject matter. He's talking about something. It's about love and it's life and how he's lived enough to kind of look back on it and go, wow, it really moves fast. So it's not a huge departure from what he does, but it's a gap. It's like on that leading edge of maturity and depth for him. It's a little more than maybe he's done, at least in a single. So there's a gap there. There's a little spot there.
Pushing the edge a little bit. He's pushing
the edge a little bit.
Getting outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
In that lyric.
Sometimes the gaps are in different places, not always on the leading edge, but in this regard it is, in this particular song. And again, it's more true love than tailgate lust, which is a little bit of gap for him. He hadn't worn out true love yet. He's done a lot of tailgate lust. Get up in my big black
that's a good
picnic.
point. Yeah.
But he hadn't done a lot of like love, a lot of hooking up, a lot of I miss you, girl. But this is like a love song at its heart as well. So I think it's cool because it's kind of the same guy from those other songs, but he's maybe a little bit older, a little more mature, and he's in love. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's clever.
Yeah, it's like they thought about this for a minute.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and the next thing I want to talk about is called because I like acronyms, PULD, P-U-L-D, and it stands for positive, up-tempo, love, depth. Okay, so I like acronyms because you remember stuff, but
like the climb,
exactly.
You were clearly the man to go with that on the title. Like you're the guy for the job.
Just hand it off.
Brent,
I was high-fiving myself. I thought of that. Oh, I can make it mean something too. So anyway, okay. So songs simply tend to be more cuttable when they're positive, when they're up tempo, when they're about love, or say something with some depth. So Fast checks several of those boxes because it's positive. There's some bittersweet emotion to it because man, it just goes too fast. But he's happily in love. Like I want to press pause on this moment because I'm so in love with you. I don't want this moment to change.
Yeah.
So, ultimately it's some bittersweet, but ultimately it's positive. Also, pulls off some depth, being about, how life moves too fast. And so it's kind of a life song. So you got positive, love, and some depth. It's not an up-tempo song, but it has some nice movement to it. It doesn't just sit there like a slow ballad. It moves, especially that chorus picks it up some and moves pretty good. So
like a mid-tempo-ish.
It's kind of mid, yeah. So, it's on that edge of tempo. So, yeah, pull positive, up-tempo, love, depth, checks a lot of those boxes. So they're like, okay, let's, use well-placed imagery. Let's do, find something that fits a gap for Luke, and then let's start checking off the pulled boxes.
Love it.
And yeah, so like I've been talking about, a lot of these come from my workbook Cuttable, and I have this cool thing coming up. I just want to take a second to let y'all know about that. I have a cool opportunity coming up. If you want to dive into this stuff, you're like, oh, I like how he's breaking this stuff down. I want to think about this with my songwriting and apply this to my own writing because I want to write cuttable songs. I have this thing coming up called the C4 experience or C4X. So it's a series of workshops coming up in August. And so like every Tuesday night in August, we're going to be doing these. But there are only 10 spots available. So I keep it really small. It's going to be a core group of people, and we're going to dive in deep to this material.
So that way all 10 people get like a pretty decent amount of attention from you.
What we're going to do is you're going to get to everyone that joins the C4 experience is going to get a free copy of Cuttable, and they're going to have homework. Okay, Tuesday night, you're going to be doing lesson 1. There are 5 lessons in Cuttable. There are going to be 5 nights we're going to be doing this. So every night we're going to start off, you're going to do your homework ahead of time. And for the first 30 minutes, we're just going to discuss it. Hey, what'd you learn? What'd you see when you did your homework? So there's some accountability there, you know.
So this is like a 5-week program with the same 10 people.
With the same 10 people.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we're going to keep it small, so you're going to get to know each other. But yeah, the C4, the 4 C's stand for creative, commercial, coaching, and community. So the C4 experience is about celebrating your creative spirit and sharpening your commercial songwriting. And you're guided by coaching, by expert coaching, and encouraged by a supportive community. Because you get to know those other 10 writers in there, because you're going to be together for 5 weeks. And so the first 30 minutes, we're going to go over kind of the homework. Hey, what'd you get out of it? What do you think about it? What'd you find? You know, what were your experiences? Any questions? We're going to talk about that for the first half hour. And then we're going to do 2 45-minute spotlight sessions. So each writer gets 45 minutes kind of on the hot seat, you know, or in the spotlight where I'm like, okay, Billy, you know, it's your spotlight. What's going on with your writing? What can I help you with? I'll listen to a song, give you feedback. I'll answer your questions. It's like your time for us all to kind of dive in on your career and your writing and to try and help you move forward. We'll do 2 of those a night. So over the 5 nights, all 10
people get it done. Yeah, that's cool.
And so I've done it one time before, so I don't do them very often. It's been over a year since I did the last one, and I thought it was time to bring it back. So if you're interested in it, all you need to do to learn more is go download giftfrombrent.com, because that gets you on the Songwriting Pro Insiders list, which I'll be sending out the information about it. That's always the best place to go. So if you're listening to this podcast, you know, a year from now, I may have another one of these coming up. Go to giftfrombrent.com, download the free ebook, think like a pro songwriter, and that way you'll be in the know of the next one. So this will always be relevant. So I'll probably have another one coming up. I think about doing these maybe about twice a year.
Well, that's cool, man.
So this is the only one we know of for sure going to happen, because it may change my mind. So, but you should check it out, giftfrombrent.com.
That's awesome. I mean, that's
last one went really well.
Coaching, that's like, I mean, just doing it, like getting in with some people and actually doing it instead of reading about it and hearing about it. We just get in and you know, get in the rank and
the writers, and we're just going to work to apply that to our own songwriting and really dig in. So we'll be going over stuff like, you know, pulled, imagery, gaps, and the next thing, which is the MVPOV, which is, you know, most important point of view, like the MVP. OV, most important point of view. So this is where the writers on this song, by the way, are Luke Bryan, Luke Laird, and Ron D. Clausen. They've written a couple hits between them. Yeah.
Right?
So these guys know what
their bonds.
Yeah. I know. Poor guys. This is where they really pull off some cool stuff. Okay, they managed to kind of break a rule and make it pay off. So Luke sings from a what I call the me to the world point of view. And in Cuttable, I call it the 4th POV, which is, you know, fast. That's the kind of car you want when you're 16, fast. Those are the kind of boys you want on you. And then it's in the chorus when it talks about, you know, 60 seconds now feels more like 30, tick-tock, don't stop, round it goes. And you just sing this, but you want to make it last as long as you can, but you can't. It just goes too fast. It's kind of like your general me singing to the world anthem. He doesn't seem to be singing to any one person in particular. He's just like into a megaphone to the whole world. Anthem thing. We can all, this universal thing we can all relate to. So that's what I call the 4th point of view. If you want to know what the other ones are, you got to get Cuttable. But, and so that's cool, because that's the 4th point of view is really good for anthems like this, big statements like this. So he does that in verse 1 and chorus 1. And then he sings in the first person point of view, which is like me singing to you specifically, not you, the world, and whoever is listening, but to like you, a person, in the second verse and in the bridge. In this case, it's you, the girl, the love interest. Because it changes. Because in the second verse, he goes, fast. That's what your parents said when we were falling in love. It's too fast. You know, we made it. Now our only problem is it goes too fast. And so now it's like, oh, he's talking to
somebody.
The girl, which is, you didn't know that until then. So they kind of pulled a fast one on you.
Hey,
hey, look at me. That's in there.
Veal. He'll be here all week.
Thank you. So time enjoy the reveal.
Oh, look at that again. Just when you thought it wasn't done.
Right. So anyway, so it's cool. So it starts off with, it's feeling more like an anthem to draw everybody in. And then they do that fourth point of view, the me to the world. And the second verse, still talking you, but now you realize, oh, the you is like you girl. They kind of got away with one, because generally I say don't change your point of view, but they were able to find a way to keep it you. And so it's very kind of elegant the way they do it. It doesn't.
And the meaning of you changed, the focus of you changed.
You changes, but it's not abrupt or like harsh or doesn't make sense. Like you listen to it and not even notice they do it. Right. As a listener, a lot of people probably don't really even notice they do it, but it's really elegant because these guys know what they're doing. All right, you could fumble it easily. So generally, I say don't try to do that unless you're Luke Bryan, Luke Laird, and Rodney Clawson. But it's cool how they pulled it off, because first person point of view is the best for romantic love songs. It's me loving you. I love you is a lot more powerful than he loves her or I love her. As a listener, you want to hear I love you, not I love him or I love her. It's just emotionally impactful. And they know that. And so they were able to build that in. So they got the first verse, the you, they did it where it's best for anthem. Second verse, the first person point of view, you is best for love songs. So they wove them both in nicely. So you got to be careful mixing those kind of point of views, but they pulled it off and did something really cool. So kudos to them. That's
right. There's a fine line between clever and stupid.
Right. And they were clearly on the clever side.
Yeah, that's right.
so clever it's stupid. They're stupid good. So, and then the last thing I want to talk about is neighborhoods. That's another section in Cuttable that we'll cover in the C4 experience. And Luke Bryan's neighborhood, and that's basically the kind of music an artist music, or kind of audience an artist music is really for, where their audience lives, not literally but metaphorically. So Luke Bryan's neighborhood has been solidly like bro country, young, kind of shallow, sexy, tailgates and parties and that kind of thing. Party in the field, tailgate beer, so that's been solidly his neighborhood. He's been right in the middle of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
he helped build the neighborhood.
He really did help. He's like, welcome to my neighborhood. Yeah, that's right. He's like Mr. Rogers neighborhood.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's. So anyway, but as I mentioned under gaps, this song kind of grows him beyond that just a little bit, beyond the solid bro country thing. It's a little more depth, a little more love, but it's not like a big leap across town out of his neighborhood. It's like just one house over in his neighborhood. It's like the adjacent neighborhood. It's the next neighborhood over. So he doesn't get lost. His fans, his neighbors and stuff can still find him. He's just one street over. And so he keeps one foot planted firmly in bro. And how he keeps his bro cred is a couple ways. One, when he begins a song with bro-friendly subjects so like fast cars and hometown sports. Mm-hmm. Right, bro.
Meatballs right across the plate, yeah.
And it's fast cars, hometown, probably football team, bro, yo. Good. Keeping your bro cred, right? But it's not in like a really shallow way. It's just, those are subjects that are bro-friendly, right? So the second verse has some rebellious teenage romance in it. So her parents disapprove of the relationship, said it was going too fast. Now, it's not like Grand Theft Auto, but fast cars and rebellious teenage love kind of help him keep that, a little bit of an edge. Mm-hmm. It's not super edgy, but, he's talking about fast cars and sports and now a little bit of rebellious love. So, he gets to keep his man card. you know, which fits in with his brand. He's not all squishy, lovey-dovey stuff. He's still got some hair on his chest, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and lastly, and this is a big one, because this is where it could have gone off the rails. They keep it young. Okay, so the theme of the song, you know, life just goes so fast. Naturally, could have a writer saying, you know, writing about getting married, getting some gray hairs, watching your kids growing up too fast. It could land on that spot. Now our kids are growing up and we're on our rocking chairs, and man, it just goes so fast. Mm-hmm. They don't do that because that's not Luke's neighborhood. He's not grandpa on the rocking chair, and he's not going to sing like his grandpa on the rocking chair. He's like Bryan. He's young. He's wearing leather pants. Yeah. If your grandpa wears leather pants, well, your grandpa might have worn leather pants. I think
Bryan mows the lawn with leather pants.
There we go. So, you know, he is not going to talk about, at this point in his career, and now we're watching the kids grow up. Yeah. Man, they grow up so fast. No, it's just not his neighborhood, man. We're taking it one house across the street from his neighborhood, not across town in the retirement community. He's not in the 55 and up community where my parents live, you know? Mm-hmm. So they keep it young. And for all we know, it doesn't give us a lot about the relationship. But for all we know, he and the girl have only been together like a year or two, right? I mean, for all we know, because when you're 20, 2 years together seems like a long time. You go, man, it goes so fast. Because
that's a good point. And you don't know that they have kids. Like, there's no mention of that. Like, they even had any. Not. Yeah. So it's because of that ambiguity, people who have kids that are maybe in their 30s all of a sudden can relate instantly to that, and that are still in love.
You can relate to it, but also
if you're just dating, or you've been dating for a couple of years and you don't have kids, or maybe you just got married or whatever, you can relate to the same line.
Right. Exactly. That we talked about under imagery. They really paint that picture of her in the dress with a smile by the window and the sun coming through or whatever. So they got really specific in that image. So it really brings you to that moment. But they don't bring in kids. They don't bring in gray hairs. They don't bring in any of that stuff that would age it up. Mm-hmm. Specific, but it doesn't cut people out of the song. Yeah. You know, which is really cool. And so that's a big thing. It's written openly enough that they could be married, they could be middle-aged or older. It's not vague. That bridge is very specific, but it's open so that the listeners can see their own lives in it, which is spot on. Because when you think about life going too fast, and it helped probably having an artist in the room, but I think with Luke Laird and Rodney Clawson, they still would have kept it young because those guys know what they're doing and they write cuttable songs, which is why they get so many songs cut. Mm-hmm. Hey, this idea sounds like, you know, you're going to want to go old. We're not going to do that because most artists aren't going to sing that. We're going to keep it young and relevant. Still keep him his man card. And so it's going to work in today's market. So I think fast hits on a lot of the principles I advocate for in Cuttable, and we'll be going over in the C4 experience. So I think the songwriters did a great job of melding that kind of some of the 90s sensibility with the modern commercial sensibility to do something that really bridges that gap, and I think bring a lot of people over to being fans of that song, and probably fans of Luke's for the first time.
Not for nothing, but I mean, what a perfect song and a perfect third verse on the last single of the record. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's kind of like a cliffhanger, right? Like, what's the next record going to be if we're falling in love now and we're not, like, talking about Tailgate?
Yeah, because the first single was, like, Kick the Dust Up.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got loving, hunting, fishing, loving every day, and he's got, I don't even know what
some of the others are Strip It Down, and the Home Alone, or Home Alone Tonight, I think, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, then it ends on there's almost a kind of a journey of ending on a more settled, mature spot than the record cycle starts.
Is it foreshadowing for the next record? That's
who knows.
Like, we're all wondering, when's the next season going to start?
I know. Is he? Yes. Talking about he's going to be like, you know, strollers and pacifiers.
Is he going to make that cool? I don't think girls would care as long as his butt still looks the way it does in those pants. They're like, you get a stroller, boy. You do it. Like,
roll it. Sachet.
Well,
and we just killed this episode.
That's right. There it is. We just had it going, and now we ruined it.
Right off the rails.
Well, hey, man. So there you go. I mean, that's an in-depth sort of breakdown of the 6th number 1 hit song from Luke Bryan's latest release, which is released over a year ago. And
yeah,
God bless him. Good for him. And then once again, though, if they download, if they go to getfrombrent.com and download Think Like a Pro Songwriter, if they're not already on the list.
Right. If you're already on the list, you're going to be getting, so I'm going to be blogging about it. There'll be some links there if you want to go check it out, find out more about the C4 experience. If you're not already on the Songwriting Pro, insiders list or following the blog, giftfrombrent.com, get a free ebook, which has a lot of helpful information in it for free. And then also you'll get some emails where I'll just let you know about C4, where you can check it out. Like I said, it's limited to just 10 songwriters. And I won't be doing it again for at least 6 months. So
it's a big commitment. I mean, that's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, and it's limited. So there's
for
only
you. That's what I mean. It's a lot of time for you. That's why you're only doing it once every 6 months. Like you can't be doing it every Tuesday. Because
like, honey, every Tuesday night, you're not going to be seeing me for a while. But I think it's a great opportunity. Yeah, and so check it out. And again, this I'll be doing these periodically. I plan to. So even if you're listening to this in the future, getfrombrent.com is not going anywhere. Check it out, and you'll learn about the next one or whatever we got going on. So thanks for hanging in there with me. There's a lot to cover.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer The C.L.I.M.B episode. Remember, if you love this stuff, leave a rating and review on iTunes or on Stitcher. That helps us reach more people, helps us look more legit. And then spread it around. If you like this, you'll be cool. Tell your friends. Like, let people know. I think that, we're working real hard here to try to disseminate this information and give everybody a correct perspective on what's going on in songwriting and what's going on in the music industry. And we need your help. Let everybody know. Shout it from the treetops. And those of you that have done that, we thank you. We're grateful. We keep breaking download records like every month. Sometimes we break it by a few, sometimes we break it by a few hundred, and it's awesome. So right now is no different. So excited about that. But anyway, listen, we want you to win, guys. This is all about creating leverage and getting you in the best possible position so that you can be driving on your career. And with that, we will say keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.